and thank you so much for this invitation to this talk. So this talk is going to be given by two of us. My name is Shivkumar Iyer and my colleague is Darius. So I'll get started with some of my initial adventures with using Python in electrical engineering. So as I said before, there are two presenters. There is Darius Vaillancourt, who is the founder and CEO of a company, and there is me, who I am also an electrical engineer, and I also do data science and machine learning. So the main motive behind why I'm here and also what I'm trying to do is my initial training was as an electrical engineer. So I did my bachelor's, master's, PhD as electrical engineering. I spent maybe 6-7 years in industry, a few years in academia after my PhD. And at the same time, since 2001, I have also been a Linux enthusiast and a software and also hacking away at different things here and there. And being an electrical engineer and also having an interest in software told me that there's a big gap in electrical and software with respect to open source technology. So if you look at the rate at which open source comes out in software, you will not see anywhere close to that in electrical engineering. Electrical engineering is still the domain of very proprietary enterprise software. And it is for that reason that I realized that we do need more open source software in electrical engineering. And this is because for the simple reason that in electrical engineering, a lot of the softwares are just incredibly expensive. A simple simulator will cost you several $1,000s, has very restrictive licensing requirements, maybe just 3 or 4 licenses, that's about all. And if you compare it with something like web development, where just about every package is open source and free, and this just kind of is a huge stark difference that I felt we just need to bridge. So it is for these particular reasons that I started my own circuit simulator, which is called Python Power Electronics. So I'm not sure if any of you have heard of open source alternatives like LT Spice or Modelica or any of those. They have been used. They are open source and they still do have development. But for several reasons, and I believe one of them is because the electrical engineers are not really developing some of those. And therefore, the domain knowledge that is there in software is kind of lacking in open source software for electrical. So this software, that is Python Power Electronics, is built completely with scratch in Python. So it started as a hobby and it started gradually working, and then I released it on SourceForge. And now I have my own website, pythonpowerelectronics.com. If you're interested and you're on Facebook, feel free to follow my page, Python Power Electronics. So the main reason for starting, as I said before, is to be able to give power electronics engineers, power system engineers, to be able to give them a platform where they can develop control, mainly with control, in Python. And the reason for that is because my intention is so that they can bring in things like big data. For example, Python electrical engineering has had applications from neural networks. That has been there for quite a while. The problem is a lot of these applications are very heuristic, and many of them have not really had active development for a long time. So the idea is eventually start using neural networks and deep learning once again in power electronics. And the reason for that is because as time goes on and now climate change is becoming something bigger and bigger, as we all acknowledge it, we realized the need for renewables. We realized the need for autonomous systems. They're called autonomous microgrids. And all these will need an incredible amount of machine learning and deep learning to actually make them effective. So for these reasons, I have actually built this with Python. It was actually initially built with C++, but later on I realized that if I want this to become something which is integrated with big data and machine learning, it would be better to actually convert it to Python. And this was, a lot of people actually say, why did you even build a circuit simulator? And I said, okay, the questions are being asked so often, so I'll just write a book about it. So I wrote a book which is called Simulating Nonlinear Circuits with Python Power Electronics. This has been published in Springer. And the main reason was to actually document this entire process. How do you build a circuit simulator? And the idea was that if you are not even an electrical engineer, maybe a mechanical engineer, civil engineer, and you want to build your own application, how do you even go about starting something like this? How do you go from the grassroots up? And this describes the entire process. How did I actually end up even conceptualizing? How do you build a user interface? How do you build the actuals? Like, how do you even solve equations? So eventually with this book, I have become also in my free time, and it's actually grown a little more. I've become more of an educator in electrical engineering, trying to bring more of data science, open source software into electrical engineering and core engineering in general. That means not just electrical engineering, but mechanical engineering, civil engineering, everyone else. So it is with this reason that I have also started finding ways to actually help engineers include machine learning and data science in their applications. And one of the things which I am also doing is I'm also actively teaching data science to a group, any group of people. They could be people who have a tech background, but most importantly, they are also people who do not have any tech background. And this is one of those courses that we are currently teaching. I mean, also Darius is one of the people involved because this is through Collabo. And this is an entire bootcamp in machine learning and data science. So the idea behind this bootcamp is that this helps anyone, even those without any tech background, because there is actually a pre-learning workshop where if you have no background in programming, this kind of helps you into Python. And the idea behind this is this kind of caters to just about everyone. So for those who are trying to sort of get into this topic, this starts off with things like, just data cleaning, data manipulation, data visualization. And for those who want a quick jump into machine learning, it goes into the more core topics of machine learning, such as regression, deep learning, and natural language processing. So now with this, I'll now hand it over to Darius to talk about the philosophy behind Collabo Academy, because Collabo Academy is essentially where I do this program teaching, and Darius is the founder and co-CEO of this. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, so we've talked a lot about various technical aspects of machine learning. I thought I'd talk a little bit about the human element of learning machine learning. So I started Collabo Academy really with the mission of bringing greater accessibility of digital skills to a wider group of people. Really struggling myself trying to learn different skills, being a professional and not having the time. We've all tried maybe online classes, and what I thought was more effective is really having a community as well as live instruction to support you as you go through the various aspects of learning. And so the programs that we develop are focused on digital skills, but most importantly on helping people overcome those barriers to learning and really obtaining critical skills so that they can stay relevant in the workforce, but also at a very affordable price. So the way our program works is otherwise known as blended learning or the flipped classroom, which has garnered a lot of attention with respect to new education models. Really, I think we can all agree that we've sat in plenty of lectures where it just hasn't been as engaging as we'd like to have. So what we do is we combine pre-recorded online lectures with in-person workshops here in Montreal. And so the class that Shiv was talking about, students will watch lectures at home at their own pace and time, rewind, play back, and then come in with a workshop where there's live instruction, interaction, and ability to ask questions and fill in knowledge gaps. And this is done so that people have the flexibility in their own time to learn, but then also a community and support that allows you to kind of reinforce the learning, another machine learning pun there. And this, again, is based on research that was conducted across various studies, but really the effectiveness being that, this model has led to better learning outcomes, increased test scores, and a better all experience. So the program, which is starting on Thursday, the way it works is that there's over 7 weeks There's a 2-hour workshop where students really use to get feedback on their projects, to ask questions, and to work on additional exercises with the guidance of an instructor as well as a fellow community to support each other. In addition, one thing that we saw that was lacking from sort of the online-only courses was that there really wasn't a dive into exposure to the theory aspects behind it, and I think there's, in some regard, a race to sort of learn the bells and whistles and the tools to sort of say we're proficient without taking a step back to really understand what's under the hood and have a more conscious approach to filling out that wider range of knowledge. And we can, that's a whole other topic of discussion, but we also combine that more practical element with the theory approach as well. And then we provide supplemental notes and additional communication. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And if you
have questions?
With regard, obviously Shiv as well. Yeah.
Speakers. It was all clear. Thank you very much.
You had one question in the front? Sure.
About the online lectures, it's all your own stuff or is some stuff from other?
So we're developing our own content, but much of it is through previously completed material.
Yeah.
And the idea really being is that there's a there's so much options and great material out there, and really how do you complement that so that people can actually get through and overcome that, the learning process. Yeah. Sure.
Anyone?
There's a question in the back, sure.
Actually, I think you might have answered it a little bit, but I'm just curious. Number one, what sets you apart from, let's say, an online platform like Coursera or Udemy or something else?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, the short answer is that we provide live in-person instruction. And so anybody who's taken a class, there's been this sort of explosion of online content, and everybody over the last 5 to 10 years has said that's going to basically replace traditional education, and what we've seen is it hasn't happened. And one of the reasons is because at the end of the day, we're still human beings that long for community, and there's many modalities of learning. And so online classes, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, they fall short of those other modes of learning. And so right now, if you look at some of the statistics that are out there, about 5% to 10% of people who begin an online class actually finish it. And we can debate about the reasons behind that. But what we do as a supplement to those platforms is we provide live in-person instruction, additional support tools, and really a community that allows people sort of in real time in their local area to support one another. And so, we see online learning being extremely important to sort of creating more opportunity to learn, but then there's really something important and magical about having other people to interact with and learn from. So we do that through our platform, and that I would say that's the key feature. And then we also have one-on-one instruction too, as it relates to professional skills. And so imagine yourself, even if you don't want to take a class, you just want to take an online course and then fill in gaps, on an as-needed basis. We can pair you with somebody at a very affordable price, in flexible time to get that help.
So thanks very much.
Thank you.